Hello and welcome to World History. This is class 2 of 3 on world religions. Today we cover Christianity and Islam and how these two major religions, which comprise more than half of all the people on earth between the two. Wow. Your goal to get a half page of notes, at least 7 points that you learned. So Christianity is probably the most familiar if the demographics of Brentwood prove to be consistent, but that doesn't mean that that's everyone. And in fact, between these two religions we might cover most of the class, and that of course leaves room for plenty of other belief systems or for no belief systems or belief systems outside of these. Anyways, based on the life and teachings of Jesus Christ, originated in the 1st century AD, believed that Jesus was the Son of God who came and died for people's sins and then rose again so that all people could be saved, spent 40 days on earth, and then ascended into heaven. Originally developed as part of Judaism, Jesus was Jewish and all early Christians were Jewish. The birthplace of Christianity was between the eastern end of the Mediterranean Sea, referred to as Judea by the Romans. The first Christians were Jews, and Christianity maintained a lot of Jewish beliefs over time. One of the things that you probably do want to mention is that Christianity challenged the Roman way of life, because prior to that, you were under Roman control. You needed to follow all Roman laws and expectations. So by suddenly praising this Jesus fellow, you maybe would be called to not pay taxes, even though Jesus said, pay your taxes, give to Caesar what's Caesar, and give to my Father what's God's. Anyways, it did challenge when you put something at the top of your pyramid. If you play NBA 2K all day long, you're going to drop some other important things off the table. I don't know why I mentioned that. Doesn't come from my own experience. Not that I've been playing NBA Live since 1995. Anyways, we talked about the 10 Commandments last class in Judaism. Hey, they follow through here. And clearly this was a British image because it got the classic British U in the honor there. Some important days: Ash Wednesday and Lent, Palm Sunday, Good Friday, Easter, the rising of Christ, the ascension into heaven, Pentecost. And depending on your branch or denomination of Christianity, if you're Christian, some of these mean more to you than others. But all of us seem to enjoy Christmas quite a bit. Some interesting notes. This would be one of my 7 notes for the day if I was taking notes. Is that when Christianity spread to different places, it needed to adapt in order to catch on and be relevant to native cultures. In Mexico, there were a lot of spiritual worship prior to Christianity arriving with the Spanish missionaries. And so people would worship owls in some areas, or would hold nature very highly, or just the fact that Mexico is a very colorful culture and likes to have a lot of colorful celebrations like Dia de los Muertos. Christianity came in and would try to redress those as All Souls Day and would try to adapt holidays around the Mexican practice of indigenous cultures. So here's a picture from our textbook in Oaxaca. I know it looks like Oaxaca, but I'm half white, half Mexican, so I try to represent where I can. This is an Easter procession. We don't do a lot of Easter processions in the United States for Christians, but look how colorful the gown of Jesus is, the wardrobe, and it's just more of a vibrant celebration, I guess. A lot of purple and white here in Oaxaca, and I don't know the significance of that. If you looked up the significance of purple there, I'd give you a point. Let's move on to Islam, because a lot of us are very familiar with Christianity, and I would say over the last 20 years, Americans have become more familiar with Islam and helped replace fear with knowledge. I think in most cases we fear cultures we don't understand till we see how similar things are. So Islam's the world's second most followed religion, and that came from growing up in a Catholic habitat for myself personally and not being told anything about Islam. Then once I got to college and took Western religion and comparative religion, I realized we have so much in common, and I felt kind of sad that I didn't get more of an education when I was younger. So it began around 1400 years ago in Arabia and now has 1.2 billion followers. I would say probably more like 1.4 billion with the recent spreading to new areas. Islam is an Arabic word which means surrendering yourself or submission to the will of God. Islam's more than a system of beliefs. It also guides family law, legal systems, law and order, ethics, dress, and cleanliness. Depending on which place you live in, it might even be part of your government, as Islamic republics also exist. The countries with the largest Islamic populations might surprise you. Indonesia, not in the Middle East, 170 million. Pakistan, 136 million. Bangladesh, 105 million. And India, 100 million. Also, 47% of Africa. Islam's 3 holiest places are the cities of Mecca, Medina, and Jerusalem. All 3 are in the Middle East. Present form of Islam began 622 on the words of Muhammad, who was a businessman and a trader, not a traitor, a trader. And he spoke to Allah and gave the world a book of beliefs and speeches, and began to be an incredible follower and have an incredible following. Muhammad was the final messenger, so he said all the people who said they were speaking to God before me, those are all good sources of information and prophecy. However, I am the last messenger that will be sent. So Muslims believe that Muhammad is the last prophet that will walk on earth and carry that message. There have been earlier messengers that are acknowledged, like Adam, Noah, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and others. This is a photo from our book. I try to pull from our book when we can. These children are reading from the Quran, which is considered by Muslims to be the word of God. This book is central to Muslim belief and practices. A book that was assigned to me to read in college for comparative religions. Very interesting, very poetic and artfully written, whereas the Bible kind of reads more like a narrative. This reads more like a series of stories and with poetic language, lots of beautiful calligraphy in the images as well. There are 5 pillars of Islam. I'd like you to at least know 2 of them. I'm not going to ask you to memorize all 5. I'm not trying to indoctrinate, just trying to get you to understand some of the most important things. Since Muslims are half the world, it's good to know what half the world believes. Wouldn't you say? It can bridge gaps of understanding, help your respect, and you know what? I think it's just good to know as much as we can about the world and its people and its followers. So we covered the 10 Commandments prior. There are 5 pillars in Islam, since we're just doing surface level understanding, that we'll cover. Number 1 is the Shahada, the witness to the profession of faith, which says that there's no other God but Allah and that Muhammad is the prophet of Allah. What's that sound like to you? And so many phrases and passages from the Quran will sound really familiar, like the Golden Rule and just things that even if you're not religious, you know of, and you'll see patterns of common threads from a lot of faith traditions that'll be familiar to Christians or Jews and others. Muslims say this when they wake up in the morning and just before they go to sleep at night, and I will caution you that not everyone follows all of the same anything, whether you're Christian, Jewish, Muslim. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are in the description exactly as fits here. So the Salat, daily prayer, is a prayer ritual performed 5 times a day between first light and sunrise, after the sun is past noon, between mid-afternoon and sunset, and between sunset and the last light of the day, and then once more between darkness and dawn. So number 2 is daily prayer 5 times a day. Number 3, the third pillar, is fasting, abstaining during each day of Ramadan. Sawm helps Muslims develop self-control, gain a better understanding of God's gifts, and greater compassion towards the deprived. Ramadan's the holiest day for Islam, when Muhammad had the Quran revealed to him. Sawm is usually described as fasting, but it's actually abstaining from bodily pleasures between dawn and the setting of the sun each day. Number 4, this is similar to Judaism, almsgiving. You're supposed to give a certain percentage of your income. In Judaism, it's a tithe, which is often 10%. Zakat is a compulsory gift of 2.5% of one's savings to charity. That's intended to free us from the love of money and support those who are in need. It reminds them that everything they have belongs to God. And finally, if you're able to in your lifetime, physically and financially, you're supposed to go to Mecca and circle the Kaaba. It's the most holy place in their life. They circle 7 times on 3 occasions. They walk to Mount Arafat. They shave. They run 7 times between some hills. And it is quite a sight. I mean, the left is a time lapse, and it just looks kind of amazing. On the right, looks like one of the largest gatherings of people you'll see in your lifetime. Kind of reminds me of the Vatican, but also kind of reminds me with the size of the crowd of like a FIFA match, or maybe just because it's a cube shape, the Kaaba, where it's said that Abraham had built or had been involved with. It just reminds me of like just a major gathering in that image. There it is from the sky, and if you've ever wondered what we look like, you've been in an airplane most likely, but we really are so small individually. And so it's important to know what people outside of our own traditions believe. And this might be part of your tradition. And I hope that we can be more respectful of everyone's global culture and feeling. And even to appreciate how symbolic a place like this is and how important, not even symbolically, literally important and wholly perceived to be this place is by how many people have shaped their experience with it. Some cool photos. This one's from our book. The fifth pillar encourages all Muslims to make this pilgrimage. About 2 million Muslims perform the Hajj, or the pilgrimage, each year. Cool. And that is like a rendering of what is believed to have been the way it looked prior to the more ornate decoration that's here. Cool. This is a really nice video that if you were looking for extra credit, you can find on YouTube. It's called Jerusalem, 3 Religions, 3 Families, Faith Matters. If you would prefer to do this as the assignment, you can watch this video and make a Venn diagram. And that would be worth 5 points instead of doing the 7 notes. So I'm going to let you take a picture of this. That's why I'm pausing right now. If you want to do a screenshot or take a picture, that would be great. All right. If you type this in, you will certainly find it. It's a little bit too long, like I showed in class, but 26 minutes is a little long for the embedded video here. All right. So we learned that Judaism is the oldest. Oh, no. Sorry. This is definitely in the wrong place. Apologies. Okay. So that's where we stop for the day because there's no quiz. You're doing that assignment. All right, if you have any questions, we're going to jump back in now. Hopefully you type them into the live chat window. If not, you can do so now. Let's discuss what you learned. Did anything surprise you? Do you have any further questions? We can look at research together. In the next video, we'll be doing Eastern religions and philosophy. And let's jump back in and see what you guys want to talk about. And then we'll maybe get a couple news you can use reports in as well.